All right, this is the Willington Board of Education Curriculum Committee Subcommittee. It is 5:04 p.m., January 25th, 2023. We have one item on our agenda. It is just simply to review the phonics curriculum. You had your kind of layout last time, I believe. And we're looking for any feedback tonight that you have or to answer any questions. Kristen or Aaron, did you want to add anything that since last time, anything that adjusted, anything that you think we missed before they put things out there?
No.
Okay. So curriculum committee, questions, comments?
Okay. I did have a couple things. Since nobody's jumping in there. Some are very simple, and it's just my ignorance. Like, what are Anglo-Saxon word cards?
I will give that to Kristen. I believe that's from Literacy Essentials. The word cards, Kristen.
I don't know if Anglo-Saxon word cards, those word cards, but Anglo-Saxon word cards.
That's what it says, and it's
I don't know
in
anything
many.
about that.
It's in many of them, and
Yeah, is it grade 3? Is that?
I started in 6. I did 6th, 7th, 8th, and then I went down. I figured I'd start middle school where I'm more familiar.
Yeah.
So I know it was there because that's when I wrote down the question.
Yes, it's because I know I just actually I think I just saw them when I was writing the waiver for Literacy Essentials. It's because it is for the upper grades when they start to get into the roots of language,
Okay.
like the origination. And so again, I have to go back and remember. I just remember seeing them that they were used in conjunction with like morphemes and the roots and origination of language.
So the Anglo-Saxon roots. Okay. I just thought that was cool. And I was like, I've never seen that. Like, it's always Greek and Latin, right? So to go along with that, a comment, I did love it in the upper grades to see the addition of all the other influences in our language. So the French, and then the Spanish in 8th grade, and there was German, and it was like, yes, that's why our language is so crazy. You know, like, let's be upfront about it and teach them some of these other languages. So I thought that was great. Okay, in grades 3 and 4, they have the exact same first unit on how and why English has changed and the origins of English. So I think that's just a mistake. I don't know which grade it should be in, but
Yep.
I went through 3rd grade and then I started in 4th. I'm going, wait a second, because again, the origins of it caught my eye because to me that's really interesting. Whereas if you had repeated different phonemes in grades, I would not have caught it.
For this year, that was purposeful.
It was. Okay.
Because no one's had anything yet, so we put it in both grades so that the teachers had. But ultimately, Chris and I actually already talked about this. So ultimately, I think I wrote optional. If I didn't, it's going to go in as optional for 4th grade just in case there's a refresher, but it wouldn't be necessary. But for this year, it was intentional because neither one of them have had it.
So it will. You're envisioning it'll live in 3rd grade.
3rd grade.
Right now it's just doing the both. Okay. All right. That makes sense. I just thought maybe by accident you put it in both, like that just happens. Then there are in 3rd grade at the end of each unit, there's some lessons. And I think I saw some in 4th grade. I didn't see any in 5th through 8th. So I'm wondering if that's something that's going to happen or if you just want that in the lower grades or.
So I do. So that's another conversation. So right now we only put them in 3rd or 4th because there's already a struggle of time for 5th through 8th. Because so in kindergarten through 4th grade, remember there is a discrete phonics word study block. 5th through 8th have to work it into their normal core period. So they're trying to do reading. So they have that one block that they have to teach all. So their time constraints didn't allow for us to do the extra lessons. But right now, Kristen's actually working in PLCs around this, trying, with this timing and trying to mesh everything together. So if time allows for these, I do want to put them in. But as of right now, we just don't see the time to put those extra lessons in.
Okay. All right. And then I just had one other question, just So in the 5th grade unit, it starts with, when you get to the kind of the lessons section with the objectives, it starts with a pretest. But I didn't see that in the other grades. So I was kind of wondering why that's in 5th grade and not in the other grades.
Kristen, I know we had a discussion on the pretest and they were in there and then we took them out.
There shouldn't be any pretest in there.
Okay, so
anymore.
I just missed
Come out of
5th
5th grade. Okay, all right. I was just curious. It was only in 1 grade.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all my questions. So I'm done. We can.
Okay. So I just picked it out of 5th grade. All right.
Tracy, you're in. Questions, comments?
I wasn't able to get through all the lessons, but the ones I have looked at are very good. And I mean, I'm sorry, I'm really tired. Even though the meeting wasn't late last night, I'm still tired. No, they look really good. I seem, based on what I've been seeing with science of reading and everything, what we're building here with the whole ELA curriculum is covering all the bases you've been talking about for many years, Kristen. So I think we're going to set our kids up to be more successful. There was a couple edits, just like where it said you were covering one phoneme and then just one place it said a different phoneme. So I'm sure you're going to have someone edit it before it gets sent out again, or before it gets published to the teachers.
Yeah, I'll have to go through. I did go through, but sometimes I don't see my own mistakes.
It was like, it's one keystroke basically in the middle of a whole lesson, but it's like it was said grapheme M instead of T. So I was like, well, that doesn't quite fit. So I'm sure the teacher can figure it out, but
yeah,
needs a little bit.
You didn't happen to know which ones where you saw that, did you, by any chance? Even just the grade?
Kindergarten unit 1, page 11, lesson 4.
Oh,
I didn't
Okay, yes, you
I
did.
went through-
very specific.
Yeah, I went through that one pretty carefully and missed that.
That was where it said M instead of T, and it was in the last column, and then page 14, I think it was the same one.
Okay.
Grapheme F as in saying instead of. So it was just that one. I don't know, maybe I was paying more attention.
Okay.
But there's so many graphemes in that one that it's not surprising.
Yeah, and I cut and paste the look fors because they're all usually similar, and then I changed the grapheme, so that's probably how that happened.
Yeah, and you're gonna have a glossary again this time?
For like the terms and stuff.
Yes.
We could, so I can't remember if I can't remember if they're in the one I have or if I have to add them, because there's one I have and I put it together this summer. I have to look. But are there specific terminology that you're referring to in terms of including?
I can't remember what it was. It was something to do with. It had to do with the Anglo-Saxon, where the O's next to the M's were. That's how it became. Why it's written the way it is now. It was Anglo something.
Scribal O.
Yes, the scribal O. I had to look that up because I'd never heard that before, and that it's nothing too terrible. It made sense once I figured it out, but I just was wondering, there might be some terms, and Laura had one too, so maybe there's a few terms.
I had a lot, and Macron is the one that I kind of laughed. I'm like, is it Macron? Is it a macaroon? Is it? That's on the British baking show. So but I don't know what it is, but I figured you guys do. So
Yeah, no, it's funny. You guys are going through as I wrote this, I was doing the same things. I'm like, I would actually call Chris and say, how do I say this word? But
And you're
yeah,
highlighting the importance of professional development right there.
this is actually a lot of what Kristen's working on right now with teachers in their classrooms is terminology, correct pronunciation. This is actually exactly what she's working on as she's coaching them.
Well, I think it's fabulous that you're teaching them the words for these things, because we were never taught, which is why we probably know what these things are, but not the words for them. Like, that whole big idea of being able to talk about the language, to have the vocabulary to talk about the language. I think that's great.
And the kids love it. They're really excited about it. They just really just eating it up. It's fun.
Wonderful.
Good.
And so to answer your initial question, Tracy, now that like with those examples, those are, I mean, I could put together a glossary, but they're actually spelled out in the manual. So for teachers, the manual explains each one of those. It's just the curriculum document doesn't, because typically the teachers are following the curriculum document with their manuals, so they have that information. But if we need to do it, for public, I can put some of the major ones, or we can link just Uncovering the Logic of English book, Kristen.
Mhm,
Then they have it all.
mhm.
Man, I just Googled it. It just was a question because I don't have the UFLI manual because we do OG, or we're being trained to do OG. So it's the same language, but it's a different, resource.
Mhm.
And both are quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not look it over since we met last, but I'm kind of living the kindergarten part of it. And I have my granddaughter, I think I think she's struggling. I think that's who she is, and she's struggling with the alphabet. But I'm seeing such progress, because every night we read something related to the alphabet to try to help her with this. And the other night, for the first time, she saw a bus and she saw a bus, and she went bus. So yeah, and that was the first time she did that. She knew a couple of her sight words she knew a couple of them, but to actually see her, approach it, you get to see it all come together, the different parts of it. So it's working, and a real live experimental person. So no, I think it looks good. And I think that I know myself taking Latin in high school, how much it helped, to do that and then go on and study for the SATs and see all of the words that had all of those parts in it. So I think it's a really good opportunity for the kids to have all the different languages that are fed into English. So looks good, looks great.
This is probably, again, just like any of our other curriculum that you've sent through, it's probably, I would say, one of the most important to live. Sometimes you're learning things that are new to you, whereas and this is not a shot at science, but you're following a science guide. You're following that protocol that they've laid out for you in the Open Sci-Ed stuff. Whereas this teaching some of the phonics stuff, people may have not learned this in the past. They didn't have coursework on it. It is very different. And so this is when I always, go on my soapbox and say, specifically with reading instruction, and Aaron and I recently talked about this, what college graduates are coming out with for reading instruction. If they've had a class, they're lucky. And it's really just totally glossing over concepts. It's not, depth and breadth. So, this is important to have this work done and to provide the training on it, and to try. And part of that training is to have a plan that when we hire someone new, if someone leaves and we hire someone new, we have to have it clean in the curriculum, and we have to have the resources for them, and we have to train that person again, the new person coming in. So part of that PD process, ongoing is important, but then also living this. So as our teachers live this, and I would say this is going to be a document that, again, to have a living curriculum, it's going to need revisions. And we're going to catch things like you did, Tracy, You know, we're and honestly, that's when you know people are like, oh wait, that's not right. That's how they know they're getting it. But we're going to have those revisions and you know, improvements as we go along, and so I think that's important to remember as we go forward.
But I also think there'll be, it seems like UFLI is still developing things that they're adding in as they go. So when those resources become available that can enhance the program, we'll be adding those in, I'm sure, too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they're on the science of reading train. I mean, right? I mean, they might be the science of reading train. So
Mhm.
Yeah, actually, Kristen, do you want to speak briefly to, well, the work you've been talking about that we're doing, you know, PD on next week around the dovetailing between UFly and letters training and your work?
Say that again. What do you want me?
Oh, so what, you know, how we've been like planning for what we're doing next Friday and your work. I didn't know if you could just say like a couple lines of, because you're talking about UFly and the dovetailing or intersection between UFly and letters training.
Okay.
Now, what is UFly?
So that's the major resource for kindergarten through second grade. So that's the
Okay.
University of Florida Literacy Institute Foundations Program.
that's just how
Okay.
we say the UFLI.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So do you mean like how we're doing the PLCs and then we're doing? Okay, yeah, I mean, because I mean, basically the letters training is UFly is the application of letters training. So we've been doing that all. I mean, it's not necessarily like next week we're dovetailing it. We've been doing that
Correct.
year long. So we have our professional learning community on next Friday. We just literally, Erin and I just talked about this like 2 hours ago. So
Mhm.
it's not really planned, but I'll do my best to speak to it. We are going to be looking at, because we do collect there's a progress monitoring section in UFly. So we do collect after every 2 skills, we do collect data. So we have kids do a quick spelling assessment. So we'll be looking at that data during our professional learning communities, and then we'll be taking a look at UFly. We'll see, look at the data, see how that data reflects what's going well and what we're doing really well right now, and then also how the data reflects what parts of the program we really need to tighten up, and then we'll go right into focusing on what it is that we really feel like we need to get refined. But the program has 8 different parts, and they're tricky. Like Phil was just saying, that undergrad doesn't really prepare teachers to be able to come in and teach this. So that's been the coaching and the training this year, and the letters training, which is a huge info dump that we do have to, it's great information, but we do have to talk about it and reflect on it after they've gone through the training, because it is self-paced and it's isolated. So that's
Yeah. That's exactly that's what I was hoping, because I don't say Kristen and I have been talking, and one thing Kristen's been very, vocal about as she's living in being in the classrooms daily, is that bringing letters back and all the information they're learning from letters in a real life applied way. And so we've been really working to bring their training back to life and constantly go back and reference letters and remember, this is what it looks like in practice. This is what you saw as in an information dump, basically. So making those connections and bringing it to life has been a huge focus of what she's been working on, and we're doing the future PD professional development days on.
When you bring in a new teacher, for example, say the 4th grade teacher now that's coming on board, how they do letters independently. They can, go off and do that on their own. And then, so then I guess you'd have to do a lot of one-on-one kind of, or with their team, or they've done so much professional development that I'm just trying to imagine how you would catch somebody up,
Well, the new 4th grade teacher, so tomorrow, I mean, she has her phonics block tomorrow at 9:20, and she'll start letters soon. And I've already been in her room already. Her second day of school, I was in her room and modeling and, kind of co-teaching a little bit during her phonics. And I did that with all the teachers in the beginning of the year that I just set up a schedule, and almost everybody, we worked through it together. My day, which is back to back to back to back, you fly. So we could all just work through it together, because it's a lot to digest. But I mean, there's teachers that are flying with it and have taken it and are on their own for now. And there are teachers that I'm still co-teaching with, and it's been going great. It's been making a lot of growth, but it's a process.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
And without absolutely overwhelming people too, this is where we're using some of our grant funds, where if someone needs to do some extra hours after school and they're willing to do that, because we're also trying to provide some time during PD. You know, some of the half day times we've been giving letters time. We've hired some subs on occasion to get some letters time. So we'll do the same thing for the new teacher. But that's just an ongoing process that we just have to continue now for any new teacher. And then when someone's willing, I mean, we paid someone this summer to do that. I think the special education teacher did the entire program over the summer. And we use some of those grant funds to pay for that, because if they're willing to do the work and we can see their results, you know, that they've been through the program, we're going to find that use those grant funds to do that. So because we've put significant value in the letters, and now the application is in the U-Fly and the curriculum. So we have to keep doing that to make sure, you know, it's equitable across our staff, and that, you know, they're trained the same way, and that we're making sure they're implementing what we're asking them to implement, because that's where we believe we'll see results.
It was really cool last week to see the 8th grade language arts teacher. He had just finished the part on phonemic awareness, and how he was supporting his kids with vocabulary and spelling from the phonemic awareness part of letters. He's like, oh, I just did this last week. He's like, I'm going to try this out. It was cool. 8th grade.
Looking for. All right, so any other feedback about the document? All right, would you like to move it to the board? You know, obviously we'll continue to make minor edits and stuff like that, but what are your thoughts on next steps?
So just an overall comment. I'm not sure if I said it at the beginning, but the structure of the document, I meant to mention, I mean, it's so organized. And once you get through, like for me, once I got through 6th grade, it was like 7th and 8th went really fast. It was like, oh, I got these big ideas, you know, like standards, big ideas. So I think it's very user-friendly for the teachers. And as you said, they'll use it with their curriculum guide. So I just wanted to say that. I think we should be putting this forward to the board if Tracy and Anne agree.
Will you do a little presentation for them just to explain all the pieces? And
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll plan a kickoff just like we did for the others, because without it, I think it's a little overwhelming.
Especially if you don't have a background in.
Right. Well, I think if you like the way the science went, and I think we did the same thing for ELA, that although that seems like it was years ago at this point in time, to be honest with you, just the way we did the science, you know, it's with that kickoff, and then there will be an approval. I think that's the idea.
I'm thinking the presentation you did for us last month on this, I mean, that was very helpful for someone who has no phonics training. You know, so, yeah, I thought that was really good.
So Erin, you can figure out how you want to dovetail that, or.
Yep. No, I wrote that planning on using your feedback from when I presented to you guys on to just adjust based on what you tell me, and then use the same presentation for the board.
That's great.
So that's the 14th. Kristen, what are you doing on Valentine's Day? You want to do a presentation to the board?
Oh, what a fun date.
Yeah, right.
The way to spend it with your husband.
Yeah.
They should get to see each other, even if it is across the boxes.
Right. He's at home and I'm still in the office. So okay. Then let's move those documents forward. Erin, let's you and I connect tomorrow just to make sure, you know, I do the same way we've done it with PDFs, and make sure we send off the proper stuff to the entire board.
Okay.
Did we have a next steps for what was next with math? But it was further out, right? It's I think we have almost a couple months now before the next.
I hope so, because those will be done until April.
Yeah, so, just along the curriculum, writing process here and the work that, has been done as far as the phonics curriculum, there's been a big pause just because, and I'll talk about this at the next meeting. So it's good, Aaron, that you're going to be there, and Kristen. We're doing this waiver for the state for, Tracy, I'm not sure what you're doing in Coventry, but we'll be sharing information about a waiver for this mandatory curriculum that you have to do. If you don't do one of the 5 programs that they've identified, then you have to write a waiver. And so we are writing a waiver because we believe what we have is better. And we've already invested a lot in it prior to this, prior to their kind of you have to statement here. And there's a lot of pushback on it. And so I'll share more about that, but she's been doing a lot of waiver work. So yeah, so we need to give her some time to catch up.
I feel like I wrote a second dissertation.
Oh, no.
So we'll share some.
It's phenomenal what you all have done, starting with Aaron and then Kristen with the LA and the phonics, and it's really phenomenal.
Well,
It's
I had a
amazing what
conversation
you've
with
done.
I had a conversation with Aaron yesterday that I'm trying to see if I can tweak the grant to keep her another year. So more to come on that. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but if I can and she's willing, I think, especially we start talking about implementation and revisions, if we could, manage that, because for that to immediately fall on our people, just like it's approved now, I'm going to see what I can do. So I'm trying to work with the state to do that. It's all about when the grant has to be encumbered and liquidated. And so we're playing their dance a little bit to see if we can make it work if we have some funds left over in that grant. So
That would be
stay
wonderful.
tuned. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Anything else for as far as phonics goes, or we're sending it off and we're good to go?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll make sure I get with Aaron as far as what's next, and I'll try and book. Did this work where we booked several meetings? I know this was kind of a makeup, this one. But we can try and book the next couple once we have some time, because I know everyone's calendars kind of fill up. So
Yeah, for me, it works within a semester. I just can't tell you the next semester because my schedule is completely different, but.
all right, well, we won't know, I assume, at least for a month anyways, until we're, I want to make sure I don't set a date that she can't meet, whatever we need to have done by that point. So. All right, well, if we're done, then it's 5:32, and you all enjoy this huge snowstorm we're having.
Well, at least everybody's home safe and sound.
Yeah.
If it
True.
ever
That is true.
All right, have a good night.
All right.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Night.
Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Anne.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.